Simple Minds are coming back to Dublin this summer. They're playing the Olympia Theatre on Wednesday the 7th and Thursday the 8th of June, and lead singer Jim Kerr is on the line. How are you doing, Jim?
Very good. What's not to like about coming to Dublin in summer, as you put it there? But I believe you've got a summery day today, even. It's
a lovely day today. Believe it or not, I saw you in the Phoenix Park in the summer of 1983.
Yeah.
Wasn't that that was something else?
Never forget it. You know, my family were all across for that as well. We'll never forget it. Just to play in that famous old ground.
And I remember looking up that day, and there wasn't a whiff, there wasn't a hint of a cloud in the sky. It was just clear blue.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good time. 34 years ago.
Yeah, only.
You're talking to us from Glasgow, your hometown.
I'm indeed, yes. We're here. We've got 3 or 4 days left in rehearsals, and then we start this acoustic tour in Germany next week. It actually ends in Dublin, which is a great place to end. Probably hang on in Ireland for a few days after that, as I usually do, given the chance. But we're in good shape, and we're well looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course, you lived here for a while, didn't you?
I did. I was talking to someone earlier. Both Charlie Burchill, my songwriting partner, and I, we didn't live together. Don't get any ideas, but we lived up in where all the brats live in Killarney, and loved every minute. But the relationship with Ireland goes back further than that for me, because the generation I'm from, half of Glasgow used to go to Bray on holiday when we were kids, and that's my earliest memory of seeing the bags getting packed and getting on the boat and all that stuff.
And why Bray, Jim?
This was a day before the package holidays. You know, I mean, so much of Glasgow is either from Irish or Irish relatives. Either went to Donegal, or the boat from here went to Dublin. Well, it went to Isle of Man, went to Dublin, and then, of course, Bray being the big seaside area outside of Dublin, I guess.
Yeah. You lived, had you got 2 brothers, is it?
Yes.
And you lived in sort of flats, as they call them.
Yeah, the high-rise flats that were, you know, part of the 60s, and all well, especially in a lot of the UK towns, they built these multi-story flats, and you know, they came in, the reputation of all that, the not so flattering reputation came later, but we were kids, we loved them, you know.
Lifts.
Living up in heaven.
Yeah. And did Charlie live in one of the flats as well? You're right.
Charlie lived, he lived in one of the maisonettes, as they call it, French word in Glasgow. He lived in one of the maisonettes in the same street, and we moved from the Gorbals up to Glasgow, and the very first, they were still building the so-called housing scheme, and we were moving in, and my mum said, you know, get out the way, I went play, and I went over, you know, the building site where there was huge piles of sand and cement, and Charlie was with a few guys playing, and I met him the first day I was there, and I'm going for dinner with him tonight.
Right, and he was 8, was he, at that stage?
We're both 8, yeah.
Both 8? Dare I ask what age you are now?
Be 58
right,
in July,
that's 50 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever fall out over the years?
Last week. A few kicks went in as well, a few mistimed kicks, but I mean, it's
is Charlie the bass player in the band?
No. Charlie's the guitar player. My songwriting partner, and as I said, Charlie lived in Ireland. His sons are born on Ireland, and very proud of it as well.
Yeah. And what was it? You saw a lot of live music when you were about 15. Who did you see, and where did you see them?
Incredible. I lucked out. There was a guy in my class at school called Kenny Campbell, and his brother. Well, Kenny wasn't into music, but about the age of 13, he saw me with the first albums that I had, and carrying them to school and showing them off. T-Rex and David Bowie and all those people, and he said, "You're into all that weird stuff." And I said, "I suppose so." And he said, I can get you any gig. My brother's the head bouncer at the local venue, and he did. And as a result of that, Charlie and I saw the first 6 months ago to see live gigs. We saw David Bowie, we saw Roxy Music, The Who, Lou Reed, Genesis, Queen, Mott the Hoople, Alice Cooper, the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
That was,
wow.
The world was never going to be the same after seeing that.
No. And it must have messed with your 15-year-old brain, did it?
Scrambled, yeah. As I said, it was all I could think about. Literally then, there wasn't so much going on in Glasgow. Glasgow was a great place to have a good time now, but it was at that time the city was kind of on its knees, the industry was closed, and it was a pretty monochrome background. So when these people came to town for that 24 hours, they were literally from another planet, and it was a planet they were increasingly ever so curious about.
And of those mentioned, can you remember which of them made the biggest impression on you?
Well, I suppose your very first concert is always your first, your first 2 or 3 concerts where it's absolutely brilliant. To hear that volume, to see the lights, you never experienced anything like it. And I mean, how lucky was I that I happened to be David Bowie?
David Bowie. Oh, lucky man.
I know.
Yeah. Hey, Simple Minds, they had a unique sound, didn't they? It was just this wall of sound, and yet it was driving. It was electronic a bit.
Yes.
There was something just very different about it. Where did that come from?
We had to invent ourselves. It was what we had at our disposal. I suppose we started. Well, we were really lucky. We came out of the punk rock thing in the sense that, it's hard to describe now to people what that was like especially in the UK. I don't know what it was like in Ireland, but in the UK, the provinces, Manchester, Liverpool, they were all sleepy compared to London, but this thing started, and there was something about it that made us all over the country feel, or many of us feel, we could get out and do something like that. So that gave us the impetus, the madness of that gave us the impetus to actually get up and form bands and play, as opposed to sitting in the pub talking about it, which we might well have been still doing had that not came along. But anyway, within 6 months, Charlie and I had heard about this guy in Glasgow who had a synthesizer. And we were, a synthesizer? Jeez, how could that be? So we tracked him down. His name was Michael McNeil. And he said, I've got a gig. And we said, where's the gig? He says, it's this Chinese restaurant on... And we said, what do you do with a synthesizer in a Chinese restaurant? He said, I haven't quite worked it out yet. And we said, nah, you don't want to be playing in Chinese restaurants. We're going to be playing in Madison Square Garden in a couple of months. And he said, well, I don't think so, but it sounds intriguing. And Mick brought a lot of he brought a synthesizer and he worked it out. And we were, pretty soon we were quite flash.
Yeah. And pretty soon after that, quite global.
Yeah. Yes, that's right, yeah.
So the first few years of the 80s were huge. So it was Sparkle in the Rain, New Gold Dream.
Yeah.
Oh, huge hits, global hits.
Yeah.
So you were prolific in the 80s. How many?
Well, we didn't stop. We started in 1977 and literally didn't stop. I don't say this in the case of anyone feeling sorry for us, because having a ball and all that, but we started in 1977 and we didn't really stop till very tail end 1989, and the wheels came off a wee bit then.
Even recounting it, you sound tired.
Well, I was just thinking, I go both ways, people, see, there's people in bands who say, well, I've done 10 years and I've been on the road and I've done it and all that, and they want to stay at home and watch Doctor Who and have their own pillow and all that stuff. And Charlie and I were like, Jesus, couldn't get enough of it. But the wheels did start to come off, and we didn't do much in the 90s. And then, but 10 years ago, started to commit again, and we've been a good momentum ever since.
It must have been surreal for you. I read somewhere that you were recording was it in New York, and you went out the back entrance or the fire entrance, and who was in the laneway?
Bruce Springsteen was there. We're working with with a guy called Jimmy Iovine, and Jimmy had co-produced Born to Run. And he grew up with Bruce and Steve Van Zandt and all those guys. And so, him, Bruce, wasn't really any big deal. Anyway, I was in the studio and they were mixing. There is Bruce Springsteen standing with this black Corvette. This is 1986 when he was like Elvis then in America. He was the biggest, still is, but he was literally the biggest thing. He's got a leather jacket on and he says to Iovine, I just got this car and I can't work the graphics on the CD. He said, I can't. And Iovine says to him, just because they're mates, he says, I won't say the word that he said, but so Springsteen said, I don't know how this thing works. So Iovine clambers in and, he's got the tech thing, so he fixes it in a few minutes. And of course, the album Bruce was listening to was his own live album. He just got it, and he wanted to go a drive and check it out. And he was amazingly friendly, and I was asking how it was going and all. So Bruce says, great, I'm off. And Jimmy says, hang on a minute, where are you going? And he says, well, I'm going down to whatever. And Jimmy says, he's gone that way, he's gone to the Mayflower Hotel, give him a lift. And Springsteen says, jump in. So that was pretty impressive.
What a great story. Great story.
Yeah.
When did your fascination with Sicily start?
Well, the school took me on a trip to Italy when I was 13, or I went on a school trip to Italy when I was 13, and I said to her it was like discovering the world was in colour, because that's really what it was like. And at the time, I started getting interested in Italian football and all that, and they were playing the World Cup. I thought they were great and all that. So Italy started, and then my grandfather had been in Sicily. He'd been all over the world as part of when he was in the army and all that, and he used to tell us about these great places. And when you're a kid, he kept talking about the volcano, and I think that really, he said, Sicily's great. You got to go there, and the people are great, and they haven't got toppings, but they're great and all this stuff. So I didn't know about the mafia and all that stuff. And then later on, your people associate with Sicily, but that planted the seed, and then lo and behold, 1980, it was one of the first places we got asked to play was Italy, and Sicily was, everyone said, you don't want to be going there, it's the Badlands and all that. We went and we had the time of our lives, and it's been part of my life ever since. Wow.
And you Hotel Villa Angel?
Yeah, I was there last weekend. They're just opening for this season. I was making sure the Toblerones and the peanuts and all that were in the minibars.
So it's hands-on. Is it that hands-on?
God help us. It's certainly not hands-on.
No,
it's helped by it's professionals that run it.
I know, but you're there sort of regularly enough, are you?
Yeah, you got to keep a check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I've been there. Taormina. Is that?
You would know if you'd been there.
Does it have a cable car? It's a long time ago, Jim. Does it have a cable car that goes down?
No, you're thinking of Capri, maybe.
No.
Taormina. It does. It does. What am I saying? Round the back. I've never been on it. It does have one, yeah. And it's got an ancient Greek temple as well.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely square up in the small village. It's all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
You sit there and have a Bellini.
What? Oh, yeah. So if I go there, is there will I know that you own it? Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not that flash.
No.
In the sense, you will if you say to anyone, of course. Well, God, no, I hope they'll say positive things. But I've been there about 20 odd years. There's much grander places than mine, but mine's is the best.
Right. Hotel Villa Angel. There's a plug for that. Taormina. Owned by Jim Kerr.
We have plenty of Irish people come there. They're great. They enjoy it. Yeah.
So, Bruce Springsteen, obviously, you were on the bill that day back in August 1983 with U2. You must, because he sort of went similar paths.
Well, it was generation, certainly I'd like to think we are one of the bands of our generation, but they definitely are. The Cure, Depeche Mode, who were in Glasgow this week, you would go out and you'd be playing on festivals and bills, as you say there, and
was there friendships forged?
Oh, instant.
Yeah.
Instant, absolutely instant, and still is. Had a great time with the guys when they were in Glasgow recently, and of course, all those years when we ourselves lived in Dublin. Just
you obviously like the hill going down to the sea.
Well, you're right there. It's funny that, isn't it?
Taormina and Killiney.
We like those views. Yeah.
Who wouldn't, says you?
Who wouldn't you? Yeah.
Belfast Child, of course. Where did that come from? It was. What year was that? It was the Troubles were obviously ongoing.
It was 1988.
Yeah.
And of course, the different perspectives. I mean, we're talking there about how the ties we had to Ireland and Dublin and Bray and all that, but you got to remember, I'm 15 minutes from the coast here, and literally on the clearest day, you can see Northern Ireland. Of course, the Northern Ireland that people in the UK knew was through the news channels and the horrors that had been going on, and so there was an affinity, a desperation, all of that as well. But I certainly never felt any compulsion, really. It's amazing how some songwriting is still mysterious. It's amazing how some come up. But I'll tell you how it happened. Of course, the melody, the air is the traditional "She Moved Through the Fair" that many people know, most beautiful song. But I didn't know it. And I guess it would have been about a week after some, particularly sad, tragic event had happened. And we were working, and I came in, and ironically, it was a bass player who he knew some of the folk stuff. We really didn't know much. Came in, and he was playing this melody on the keyboard, and it sounded, just beautiful, most haunting. I could tell, although I didn't know what it was, I could tell it had the Celtic spirit in it, and within the minutes, really, we were kind of working on words and you placed them on that melody, and it was a great line. We didn't stop him because it was entrancing. And then when he did stop, his name was John Giblin. I said, well, when did you write that? Because we were working on new ideas. So he said, about 250 years ago. And I said, what are you talking about? And he explained the traditional song.
Yeah. Maybe it was just in my head, but "Don't You Forget About Me" was a pivotal moment in Simple Minds.
Well, it was a big breakthrough,
yeah.
I mean, it was the one that MTV, the band had been going great guns, and we were at the door, probably going through at the big league, and as long as whatever song we'd come up with next was semi-decent, probably, that was going to be what lay in store. But again, talking earlier about mysterious things, this thing came along, this idea of a movie and a song for the movie, and the guy who wrote the movie was a huge fan of Simple Minds, and we kind of liked him more than his song, to be honest, and more than his movie.
Oh, so he wrote the song?
Him and his partner,
right.
A guy called Keith Forsey, had this song, and it was written to go with the script and all that stuff, and we don't fancy this, we write our own songs. And so we actually turned it down a few times, and they were very, very persistent, and then maybe this is part of our character as well, and Scots, Irish are a bit like that. The geezer came over, he said, look, I know you're not going to do it, but I'm going to be there anyway, and this is the writer, producer, Keith Forsey. Can I come and hang out for a couple of days while you're working, and we might do something in the future? And we said, sure, So he did, and it was like one of those things, with a couple of days going to the pub and all that, arms round each other. Suddenly it's like, come on, we'll do a song. I said, you can't send him home without doing his song. And you know, if it's rubbish, it's rubbish, and if it's any good, who knows?
Breakfast Club.
I'm glad we did it, especially every Christmas.
You're coming to the Olympia Theatre Wednesday 7th, Thursday the 8th of June, and people who go along are going to be guaranteed good gigs because it's at the end of the tour, which also has its energy.
Absolutely. And you always, I'm not just saying that, you always, there's places where some of you want to give 100% every night, but there's places you want to give more than 100%. I know you can't, but there's places that make you want to do that. And Dublin's certainly one of those places.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Jim Kerr. Thanks very much.
Ray, all the best to you, Ray. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.